In today's video, I want to talk about why he may not want to commit, but also doesn't want to let go, and really what you need to do.
Hi, I'm Crystal Irom, and I'm one of the top love, dating, and manifestation coaches for smart, successful women like you. I share content on understanding men in the masculine, dating as a high-value woman, and manifesting love, so be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so that you don't miss anything.
I also want to let you know about an incredible free workshop that I have available just for you. In this workshop, I go through my entire 4-step magnetism formula. I break down everything you need to know if you are serious about manifesting the love of your life. So you can visit magnetismformula.com, and I'll also be sure to link it down below. Why might it be that a guy doesn't want to commit, but he also doesn't want to let go of you and what you need to do? So why would someone do this? Because they can. You have to think about it like this. If a guy has the opportunity to spend time with you and be around you and have all of the fun that being around someone like you entails, why wouldn't he? Right? I think sometimes women get in mind like, well, if he doesn't want to be with me, why doesn't he just let me go? Because he doesn't have to. Why should he if he doesn't have to? It's really up to you to decide what your standards and what your boundaries are, because people will give as much or as little as they need to. Okay? This is really important to understand. Men will do as much or as little as they need to. You decide what your standards are. It's really interesting when you have awareness of this, because you can see how it plays out. Because for one woman, he might do the absolute bare minimum, right? Like, he might just show up at her house at 1 a.m. after being like, hey, you up, right? Maybe he doesn't even show up at her house. Maybe he's just like, hey, you up, come over. And she'll do that. And so it's like, in that situation, why wouldn't he? If she's willing to just get in her car and drive over to him at 1 a.m. just so they can hook up, why wouldn't he? Right? Like, that's a great opportunity for him. That would be silly not to do. But here's what a lot of women do is they look at that situation and they're making men wrong for it. Like, they're like, oh, what a bad guy. What a jerk. He's a jerk if he's lying to you. He's a jerk if he's making you believe that it's something totally different than it is. But for him to just do the bare minimum and for you to still hook up with him, still spend time with him, that's not making him wrong. He's not doing anything wrong. That's you. And it's not even that you're really mad at him. You're mad at yourself for not having stronger boundaries, for not standing for what you truly want. And that's an important thing to be aware of. That same guy who just sort of sits back, sends off a 2-word text message, might plan elaborate dates and actually pick up the phone and speak to a different woman where that's what she requires, right? Like, he'll do the minimum that's required. Maybe you need to require more, right? And what this looks like is you get to say, this is what I desire. This is what I require. And you would let go from there. So if he says, I don't desire to provide that, I really just want to hook up, then you get to say, okay, that's fine, but that's not what I want. So I'm going to let this go. Right? Like, you're not forced to stay in that dynamic with someone. And what you need to do then is to raise your standards. Know what your boundaries are and raise your standards. If you're seeing over and over again that you're sort of getting the same thing and it's not at all close to what you ultimately desire, that's on you. You get to say, this is what I've been settling for. I've been accepting these breadcrumbs, and now I'm ready to do something different. So even though for the past 6 months I've been totally fine with just hooking up casually and nothing beyond that, I don't want that anymore. So I'm making a different choice. And if he says, okay, that's fine, I don't want to provide anymore, then you get to say, okay, I'm done with this, right? Like, that's your part. That's what you get to do, is walk away at any time when it's no longer right for you. It's not about trying to force him or trick him or get him to do something different. It's about saying, I know what I'm worthy of. I know what I deserve. I know what I desire. And all of those things, what I'm worthy of, what I deserve, what I desire, is now what I require. And even though I haven't been requiring it up until now, my standards have changed. So as much fun as I've had with you, this is the end, right? Like, you get to take ownership. And it doesn't matter what you've done up until this point. It doesn't matter if you've been settling for less. You get to do something different now. And that's really the power of taking responsibility. That's the power of saying, I have control in this situation, right? Like I was making a choice and now I get to choose something different. The other thing that you get to do is to really prioritize. You get to say, like, what am I most committed to? Because almost everything is coming down to choices and decision and our own commitment. So sometimes there's certain people that you're going to be just so drawn to. And it might be that you feel most committed to spending more time with that person, regardless of anything else. And that's fine. But if what you're most committed to is creating a happy, healthy, loving, committed relationship, then there's certain sacrifices that are absolutely going to be required. And some of those sacrifices might be really painful in the moment, but you're sort of sacrificing for the bigger goal, right? And I feel like sacrifice is a term and a concept that gets like a really bad rap where it's like, I don't want to have to sacrifice. I feel like I should just be able to have it all. But we are always sacrificing, right? Like if I go out and buy a cupcake right now, I have to sacrifice the $3.50 that it costs for that cupcake. If I am going to stay in one night and watch a movie with my husband, then I have to sacrifice a night out with my friends. If I am going to work, then I am going to sacrifice some time with my friends or with my husband, right? So it's like we're always making choices about what we are and are not willing to sacrifice. If I want a happy, healthy, loving, committed relationship, then I'm willing to sacrifice casually hooking up with people who don't really want to be with me. For me to be in a monogamous marriage, I sacrifice having boyfriends, right? Like you just get to make a choice. So sometimes the choice feels hard because the thing that you're sacrificing, you don't really want to sacrifice, right? Like if you're having a lot of fun with someone, maybe that's not something you want to give up. So you don't have to, but it's about really knowing consciously, this is what I'm most committed to. So if you're saying right now, I'm more committed to creating a relationship than anything else, then you have to think about what are the things that I have to be willing to let go of, and then you let go of them. The next thing that you can really think about is that you want to treat red flags like red flags. Sometimes we see red flags when we're getting to know someone, when we're dating someone, and instead of actually treating it like a red flag, we're sort of like, we'll see what happens here, right? Like we see this red flag and we just like keep going. Don't do that. If you see a red flag, you have to actually use that information, right? It's like, I feel like a lot of women are out here and we're just like collecting the red flags. You're like, I've got all these red flags in my arms, but I've done nothing with them. When you see the red flags, especially early on, you want to act on them more quickly. And here's a way that this sort of ties in, because I know this is very sort of like practical, but the way that this works in terms of your manifestation is that when you start acting on those red flags faster, it signals to the universe that you're raising your standards. You're saying, I'm no longer willing to settle for what was acceptable to me once. I have a higher standard. And your willingness to step into that and sacrifice something else that you've had shows a commitment to what you really want, and it shows a level of faith. When you have greater faith, greater certainty in what you actually desire, it can come into your experience so much faster. And that is a powerful thing. So I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, what do you do when someone doesn't want to let go, but you know they don't want to commit? So tell me which of these worked best for you or what you've done in the past that worked really well. I hope this video served you well. That's all I have for you today. I will see you in the next one.